Welcome everybody here at the PropTech Summit organized by German Tech and UI. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Jens Horeis from Sonae. I'm the General Manager of Property Management Germany. And we have here in our session 3 PropTechs and some experts, and we will discuss about smart retail in the future. Before we are starting the discussion, I will give you a very shortly introduction of each PropTech. First, we will start with Martin. What I have heard is Martin is CEO of blaenk, a company from Cologne, starting or a CEO from May 2019, with a vision to revolutionize retail driven by data and customer experiences. So it's a kind of platform for pop-up stores, but maybe Martin, later on you can give us much more information. Secondly, we have Dan. Dan is co-founder and CEO of Placense, and he said by himself, "I'm a tech-savvy entrepreneur at heart." He has many years of experiences leading a diverse range of online business that brought him into PropTech. And last but not least, we have Annina Koskiola. Is this correct? Yeah, Koskiola. She's the founder and CEO of Proximi. She is an entrepreneur, public speaker, and digital innovator, and member of the European Commission's Young Leaders of Industry panel for digitalization. And besides that, we have our experts. And now I started with Tom. Tom, short introduction by yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Tom Zeller. I'm managing partner of Fedor & Sie, which is the leading real estate communication agency for everything regarding real estate communication.
Okay, come to Herculano.
Hi, my name is Herculano. I work for Javelin Group. We're part of Accenture Strategy, working with retailers at the intersection of business, technology, and people, helping to go through the digital transformation in the industry.
Okay, and then we come to Norman.
Hi, I'm Norman. I'm working with Union Investment Real Estate. I'm a senior asset manager there, responsible for a portfolio of 7 shopping centers, all of them located in Germany, a portfolio roughly worth 1.5 billion euros. Yeah, managing them in difficult times now.
Okay, thanks. And Ricardo.
Hello, we just put it on. So my name is Ricardo. I'm the head of innovation for Sonae. I'm working out of Portugal, but for our old portfolio. So I'm in the intersection really of these two fine groups of people here. On the one side, whatever is coming up in terms of innovation, and on the other side, our established business and partners that are looking for that. So my job is to translate this into strategic opportunities and then make them happen across our portfolio.
So means a lot of skills and knowledge here in our session. And guys, starting now. So we have a special situation. We have the Corona crisis determines all our social life. And so first of all, a global question to all of you of the PropTechs. Are there any new challenges due to this coronavirus, and especially between your collaboration of the PropTech and the companies? And when there are some challenges, how did you manage that? So Martin, maybe you can start and give also us a short summary of your company.
Yes, thanks for the introduction. So maybe as a quick introduction, with blaenk, we have created a cloud-based operating system for smart retail, where we aggregate various different systems coming from database decision making. That can be from demographic data, for example, how placense is doing it. Me and Dan have actually talked a few times about collaborating together. We're also using in-store sensors and cameras in order to track customer behavior, in order to find out more about our customers and consumers, essentially pulling different technologies together in order to create a very personalized customer experience for the end consumer. And we are doing that with our own concept, which is called blaenk, where we actually ourselves go into the retail space. So we rent out the retail space, we flip it to our custom design, where we then match and bring together different brands that then can showcase their new products and innovative new strategies to the end consumer. So some people have said it's kind of like a WeWork for retail. Maybe WeWork is not the best comparison nowadays, but essentially you could say that we offer on-demand retail placements for brands. And this new concept that we have created with our smart retail operating system driven by data, we are very engaged in to keep on developing the system to then at some point when we're ready to offer it to third-party retailers or also landlords to use this cloud-based operating system for their demands. So this is what we're doing essentially. Happy to answer more questions if it's not 100% clear. Maybe from a global perspective on what's going on due to Corona, we believe, or I believe, and then also my team, that nothing has changed for us too much. Actually, it has sped up things. So I think our mindset before and prior to Corona was already very omni-channel driven, and that we need to use data and more digital or technology for retail. And now it just had underlined this topic of that we need more digitization and technology for smart retail in order to be smarter to take place in a holistic commerce. And I think even though it's a very bad thing going on right now, it has given this whole topic of digitization a speed up process and a shake up. So I think with the bad thing, it has also brought up some positive things.
Thank you very much. He will do the second one. Then maybe you can tell us about your story and something about how you are working with Corona.
Sure. So first, it's a pleasure being here. So a quick and explanation of what it is that we do. We at placense, in a way, are Google Analytics, but for the physical world. Information that up to now was available mainly in the online world, the ability to understand user behavior, is what we actually bring to the physical world. So our customers who are currently leading retailers in Germany and Europe and real estate companies use insights that we create that are all based on these smartphones that we all have in our pockets. We're connected with tens of millions of these devices, and we bring near real-time information. And with that, we create actionable insights that are relevant for any decision makers in the physical world that up to now have been basing millions of euros or billions of euros of decisions on sending out surveys, for example. So this era is very relevant for us because everyone wants to see the impact of footfall. So we've recently shown the impact of shopping behavior in grocery stores and sees who performs better and who worse, and what different regulations in different cities in Germany affected shopping behavior. We have done the same for car dealerships, but it's also commercial real estate, wanting to understand how do they perform and how COVID impacted their situation. In many cases, we actually saw a peak in some of these grocery stores. It seems that the peak and this period of time was stronger than Christmas in other times. So overall, going back to the question, how did COVID affect? I'll start with a small joke. There's a banner going around asking, what made the most impact on your digital transformation? Was it your CFO? Was it your CTO? Or was it COVID-19? And the answer is, of course, COVID-19. And as a startup, we've seen that our ability to draw new leads and speak with more people, speak with more executive people, get on more calls in a faster manner, and actually be able to expedite the process has helped, because now everyone feels comfortable with video conferencing and we don't need to schedule 3 months in advance to meet. So overall, data is gold and people need data, especially in hard times. There's a need to understand much more on how they're performing and how their competition is performing. And of course, this ability to make everything virtual made everything much more easier. So we actually see a good upside with the current situation.
Thank you. Thank you. Annina, and now we want to hear from your side, first the company, and secondly, how you are dealing with Corona.
Yeah, hi everybody. I think it's interesting how all of us three winners somehow work with data and especially with location data somehow being part of all of us. So we at Proximy.io, we are a unified positioning platform. We focus mainly on the indoor positioning where things get much more complex in terms of the technologies and how to do it. And our approach is that we want to simplify it, bring together all of the different hardware and software you can use for the positioning, and then provide easy to use examples and code base for venues and developers to actually start using this data in their mobile applications. Typical use cases are like indoor navigation, location-based triggering, indoors or outdoors, and then also collecting location data about how people are moving inside. And our customers are like large retailers, malls, amusement parks, hotels, large venues in general. And how we saw the COVID affecting us was that we actually saw an increase in interest in this field. There's a lot of talk about how location data could be used for tracking the infection chains, but also on a smaller scale, office owners and retail owners are getting interested in getting real-time data about how many people do they have inside, where are there bottlenecks, and even how could you start dispersing the people so that not everybody would be at the exact same location, but would be more evenly spread across your mall or your amusement park if you have a larger venue. And also, are people keeping the safe distances of 2 meters or 1.5 meters? So it has, in that sense, had a positive effect on us, even though it's horrible to say it or harsh to say it, but it has increased the demand for this kind of solutions.
Oh, that's very interesting that all of you see the positive side of the crisis which are following us in a moment. And now maybe Herculano, you can start because you are one of the strategic manager. And is it everything fine? Can you imagine that especially for this kind of business, everything is going well?
That's a very big question, and luckily I was on mute there because I gave my whole answer away. But no, the challenge that we've seen with businesses with relation to COVID-19, and bear in mind, Accenture works with the largest companies, but we also partner with a lot of tech companies and startups as well. So we play end to end in the ecosystem of technology and business. And what we found is COVID-19 has really been seen as a great accelerator, right? So a number of the winners have already mentioned it's helped them to, have better conversations, get in, people are interested in this technology and people want more data. So what we've seen is that COVID-19 is a real accelerator of the trends that were already there, whether that be in retail, in terms of how people wanted to shop in a more omni-channel way, whether that be in technology, how people wanted to communicate virtually, and even things such as, inequality and how COVID-19 is spreading inequality. COVID-19 really is the big accelerator. And what we think is important is how businesses can take this moment to reset and recalibrate their industry. And no industry needs more recalibration than the retail real estate industry because of the fact that a lot of the disruption that's happening there is built on legacy businesses with legacy startups. But I have an interesting point of view, but I'd like to actually understand. I'm going to point to Martin. I don't know where he is on the screen, but he's kind of like there on my screen. Because as we've seen huge vacancies in the marketplace already before COVID in the non-destination malls, as we see as malls start to reopen, the big malls in the city center are getting more footfall, but the out-of-town malls are not getting footfall. If your brand is driven towards experience and you're driving towards experience, you're doing, interesting experiences with your brand partners. If we spend the next 18 months where we have to be socially distanced, how does that really impact your brand? How do you promote your brand and promote your platform in a way which is really going to be suitable? Because the reality is retailers are struggling to pay rent already, and landlords are going to struggle to cope with people coming in. So I know there's a lot of in that question, but I'd like to understand your point of view.
Yeah, good question. And you're correct. There's a lot going into it, but maybe let me start from a point of view of monetization. So we believe that the retail space or commercial real estate has developed into a platform or as a new medium to approach customers. So we don't believe that the game of collecting margins as a retailer from a couple of years ago, that's not status quo, and it won't be in the future. So you have to think about how can you monetize your retail space. So how we think about it, and that's how our partners of collecting data and using sensors come in play, that we say you have to use marketing KPIs in order to monetize your retail space. So what does that mean? For example, for the cameras that we have installed in the ceilings in our retail spaces, we can count how many people have walked by the store, in the store, how much have they engaged with a certain product, how much have they seen this product, how big is the dwell time, and even we can collect ideas about the gender and the age. So specifically, we are using common e-commerce KPIs in order to monetize our solutions. So we have completely changed the way of how we interact and work together with the brands. And this new idea of collecting money, not from margins, but rather from showcasing products and bringing it to the people, gives us a lot of opportunities. And I think the landlords are starting to get an idea about this new monetization system, and they're really interested about how they can participate. But I feel like, of course, the pricing and the way of how you work together with retailers as landlords has to change. Because the rent is too high for, especially for startups, but also today for regular retailers, and they're downsizing and there's a lot of vacancies. So I think collectively we have to think about how we can change the pricing and the monetization game of retail, and rather bringing it more into a marketing KPI based system, and figuring out together with the landlords how they can participate in this and how they can monetize their commercial real estate.
If we had to take that as a follow-up question, if you think about COVID-19 and the crisis that's going to come out of this, both from a health crisis, people are going to be more concerned and they're going to spend less time, and also economic crisis, the number one thing that gets cut, apart from consultants like myself, the number one thing that gets cut from companies' budgets is marketing. How have you baked that into your business plans post-COVID?
Well, we feel like in order to create a customer experience, we don't really differentiate in between offline and online. So since we're talking about omnichannel, and some people even say that omnichannel is the wrong word, that you would actually say it's one channel in order to win a customer for yourself. We believe that offline brings a lot of potential in emotionally triggering the customer, and to give services like try before you buy, in order to get services like consultancy about a certain product, to get a better idea of the features. So obviously the COVID is bringing new security issues and distancing issues with it. So I'm sure that in the next few months, retailers are still going to be struggling with it. But as soon as you pivot from a retailer point of perspective in more of a experience and consultancy driven platform, then within those possibilities of what we are given with the 1.5 meters distance and all the things that you can do, I think still there's a lot of space and opportunities to do just that, to drive the experience up, to pinpoint experience to buying a product, and that the offline world will always play into the online world and vice versa. So I think we're going to have to recalibrate the customer behavior, because they're so used to online shopping right now, to bring them back to the retail world or to the physical world. So we have to think about new mixed use ideas. So it's not just about shopping, it's about offering yoga classes like Lululemon is doing, about gaming zones where you can play games, about drinking a coffee, and so on and so on. So it's really about how can you change up your concept, how can you create new use cases and demands for the people, and all of this plays into our into our concept, actually using data, but also increasing the experience and the personalization.
I'll ask with your permission to barge in here, and I'll say that we're speaking now of, we're expediting a retail evolution that was already on the table, on the plate. So it's the same evolution. Now the question is, what will happen? So I guess this being in a way a real estate conference, the real estate won't vanish. Okay, we won't see that businesses or buildings are starting to be teared down, but they will go through a repurposing phase. So this goes back to what Martin said as for the repurposing. Who are the people that are going there, and how should we repurpose that establishment is part of an ongoing debate that maybe COVID is expediting, but it's not a new debate.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, to be fair, picking up both on Martin's point and Dan's point, the sectors which are shifting to online as in essentials, I think the reality is people are going to be like, you know what, I'm never going to go to a supermarket and have a very awesome experience buying kitchen towel. So that's going to be commoditized, right? So I do believe that some categories won't come back from this crisis in terms of going to be bought in the store, because it doesn't make sense. So I think there's this commoditization of retail is going to be accelerated, and I'm looking forward to the fact that I'm never walking down an aisle and picking up some toilet paper, because it doesn't interest me. There's no experience there. But to Dan's point, I do think that the challenge, and I'd like to actually bring Ricardo into this, because the challenge, and maybe even union investment, because the challenge of repurposing means, yes, you won't have a building that's going to fall down, but you may have a business that falls down. You may have an empty building for a while. I don't know, Union, if you have any point of view on that, or how you guys are exploring this.
You're on mute, Norman. You are still on mute.
Crap. Now you should hear me. Sorry. Taking a step back to the global perspective of what COVID or how COVID is affecting our industry and shopping and retail in specific. We were talking about the fact, and I totally agree to that COVID is kind of an accelerator to digital technologies, whether that is in digital conferencing or in retail. But I think there's also a different aspect that hasn't been pointed at. We see that the customer frequency in our shopping centers is gaining or is catching up rapidly after our shopping centers opened again. And to me, that is a hint that people are craving to go out actually and to have customer experiences like Martin is. I think that is something Martin is working with in his company. So there is the aspect that COVID is an accelerator for digital technologies, but there's also the aspect that COVID brings us to actually value social interaction and real experience. And that, I think, is something which should give us some hope actually for our retail buildings. If you work with an inner city shopping center with a well and established customer mix, that is something people will always value. And the reason why all of you three companies are here, actually, for me, I was evaluating you, and I'm happy that all of three of you made it to the end or to the final. Actually, the reason I choose you is is that you all, in one way or the other, deal with customer experience. You, Martin, deal with how to placemaking, how to set a stage for customer experiences. And Annina and Dan are tracking customers and are looking for customer insights and trying to understand customer behavior. So for me, all of you are kind of catering to us as landlords of brick and mortar buildings. And here's the point. The fact is COVID is accelerating technology, but it is also making us valuing real experiences.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I can put in 1 or 2 sentences. So maybe coming back to what just Norman said, and also Herculano, and I think the word then repurposing is very correct. So we feel like it's not just accelerating digitization, but also accelerating the idea of where can I shop the best, for example, or repurposing the right channel. So what I mean by that is, for example, that like what Herculano said, that the items that you would buy offline or want to buy offline, or at least try offline, are different than the ones you would buy online. So usually the products that you would buy online are things that you yourself would buy on Amazon, because you know Amazon has it, it's the best price, and it's really fast at your front door. So why would you even go offline? You would go and check out products that are a bit more complex, where you need some service about it, where you need to use your senses, like feeling, smelling, touching, and trying it, in order to then make the decision of whether you want to buy it or not. And even then, you can decide if you want to buy it right away in the store, or if you want to buy it later on your phone. So what we are currently working on is that the checkout is generally digitally. So if you buy something at a blank space, you would never pull out your credit card or your cash in order to buy at the checkout. You would use your phone, you would buy the product that is either in front of you or maybe in a different color online. And then you would say, I want to have this product. And then you decide if you want to take it with you right away, or if you want it sent home or to your second home in another country or a different city. So I think it's really about picking the right portfolio of products for your offline store, and then to generate more ideas and interesting products across the online channel. So it's, I think the merchandising is a whole new game now. So I think the point and the question about the categories of products that you will have or see online will change dramatically. And but I think this is a good part, because it's going to drive down warehousing and logistics, because it's more pinpointed of what you need right now. You can pick it up from the store down the street for 5 minutes, or what you want to send to your house, and that could be even done in same day delivery, or maybe on the next day. So I think it's really about calibrating these two now different channels and bringing them together.
Martin, if I can add on one point there, it's really expensive to do that right. You know, retailers are, well, no, like retailers in the COVID world in the UK, right? So you had the bifurcation, so you have the fashion retailers really struggling unless they had some online business, and then you had the you know, grocery stores that were doing really well. But even the grocery stores, the cost to serve each customer tripled, because they had to install additional technology, they had to hire new people, they had to have social distancing, so their footfall dropped dramatically. So the cost to serve was dramatic. And, you know, interesting enough, online retail is very difficult to make profitable. And one of the reasons I believe that is around technology and scaling technology.
Yeah, let me add on that, please, because that's exactly, I think, the third point that we're at of the big changes that we're seeing now in COVID. I think we've talked a lot about being a great accelerator. We've talked about new business models that are appearing, but the one thing, the big elephant in the room that we haven't talked about, but Herculano just hinted at it, is the willingness of companies to pay, because P&Ls for all companies right now are very difficult, let's put it this way, so not to use a swear word at this stage. So I'm interested in understanding really from your point of view on how you're adapting your approach to big companies towards the fact that actually right now the willingness to pay is much lower. I mean, we have a lot more speed, we have a lot more openness within the ecosystem to try, but we also have a lot more competing interests from a financial point of view. So we have a lot more difficulties, and I speak from experience on trying to promote a lot of different innovation solutions, but from a money point of view, it's very difficult to finance them all. So I'm interested in understanding from your point of view how you're evolving your pitch towards big companies to meet this challenge.
And maybe add on, Ricardo, because I think what I can see on advising a lot of PropTechs, especially, and a lot of investors as well, is that some of the investors are also looking very carefully of which PropTech they are investing or go to the next investment round. And so maybe you can talk about that as well. How are you communicating and attracting investors and the clients as well, as Ricardo said, but maybe you can add one sentence of how you attract, or what are your experiences with the investors as well?
If possible, I would like to add something too. There's I mentioned that we see the customer flows catching up or growing up. What we also see is that people just don't buy. Because there's still so much uncertainty, and it's not just the offline shoppers actually that do not buy as they usually do. It's also the online shoppers that do not buy as they usually do. So that's due to the overall fear and uncertainty in the markets or in the customers. I think that's in addition to what Ricardo said. What can your companies actually do or help us to overcome that? Annina already mentioned that you mentioned that one can use your technology to actually monitor the distances in shops and stuff like that. So that could be used to make people more confident in coming into the shops again, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's been one point that is very sort of interesting to the retailers that we're talking with, and also then to the consumers who would be coming to the store, is the security aspect of having more confidence that it's safe to visit the store, and this maximum amount of people and safe distances are taken care of. So that's been sort of one angle that we've been taking in our sales during the past few months. And then the second angle has been that we worked a lot through partners, and one of our partners specializes in mobile payment and mobile ordering, and they've been very successful. They often sell our positioning and wayfinding as a part of it, but for them this angle has been that people are so used to using their mobile phones, or it feels very safe to like do payments from their mobile phone and ordering from their mobile phone, and that can be that has proven to increase actually sales from the previous, and especially in the current times that people don't have to use cash. So it's not maybe strictly related to location data, but that can bring additional revenue, which has also been successful lately.
I'll start with answering Norman's question, and then I'll go to I'll answer follow up with Tom and Ricardo. So we've been creating indexes for different variety of sectors, wanting to understand the recovery phase. So leisure, want to understand, are people going to restaurants again? Are they going out again? Are they having fun again? Are they waking up? Fast-moving consumer goods, want to see if people are going back shopping. And with our technological capability, we can actually look at all of these sectors and make a very broad comparison to all of these competitors and see how they're performing. So we're actually bringing an index which gives a prediction and helps them understand the pace of recovery. So that's how we've been helping. Now, Ricardo, to your question about pricing, and Tom, to your question about investments. So I guess both on the business side and on the investment side, I see a 0 or 100, meaning either companies that are completely shut down and they're now not performing, or companies that are still performing at least as well as they've did, or pressing the gas pedal and even speeding up. In many cases with the data that we bring, I go into these meetings feeling sometimes that we're going into a cave which is completely dark, and we're coming in with a flashlight and turning on the light. And for what we're charging, it's such a small amount compared to the other expenses or losses or whatever. So it does not impact or does not affect. So we see where there is an effect. It's by saying, hey, our doors are completely shut and we currently can't do anything. We're in a complete survival mode and we can't even analyze what's going on. Same goes with the investors. Those who said, okay, we're out, we're not investing, and other ones who said, we're now going to invest more than ever. And many of them also got into a process of saying, send us a pitch, we'll give you a yes or no answer within 3 days. So it's we see two very contrasted angles to this.
So you think at this stage it's binary. You either have people really doubling down or people coming out. It's an interesting point.
Definitely 0 and 1. Yep.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I'm on your side, Dan. I can see that as well. Doubling down or nothing. That's what I see as well. The middleware in the middle, there's almost nothing.
Maybe I
like
can
a lot of retail, but
add,
sorry, go ahead, Martin.
Maybe I can add some thoughts. I wrote it down because there was a lot of questions coming in. So and we have different target groups from our point of sight. So we have consumers, we have brands, and also we have landlords and retailers that we're working together with. So for us, it's really different use cases that we're offering with our system. So maybe to start with the consumers, I think I've read different things about how the behavior is. So I believe that people have tight pockets at the moment. That goes for consumers, but also for investors. So they look more closely on what they are spending. I think just because due to the current situation that people are a bit more conscious about what they are doing and don't spend too lightly. Doesn't necessarily mean though that it's a bad thing. So we are seeing or reading about that consumers are going or increasingly going into stores. Maybe not as many people, but that the conversion rate is higher because they're going more specifically into a store to buy a certain product. And maybe they even feel a bit nervous about going into the store. And if they don't buy something due to the 1.5 meter distance, then it's kind of not really, didn't make sense to go into that store anyway. So we've heard a lot about increasing conversion rates. However, I'm not sure about the revenues, but I think the people are very, or people in general are very adaptive. So I think right now people are still a bit in a shock phase and don't really know what's going on and how it's developing. And people have to wear masks, which obviously isn't the nicest thing to go in a store where people are wearing clinical masks, and it's not really a nice feeling and atmosphere to go into the store. So I think on one side, we have to give the people a little bit more time to adjust and adapt. And then on the other side, I think we have to make the atmosphere and the shopping experience nicer inside of the store. So you have to think about, what can I do to increase the atmosphere and the feeling of the people coming in here? How can I wear masks that are looking kind of inviting and nicely instead of the opposite? And I think there's a lot of things that you can do to increase that revenue and also the conversion rates due to this new experience that you can create. And maybe one more thing concerning the investors. We're actually in the middle of a financing round right now. So we're about to close it, the first round at least, at the end of this month in May, and we're going to do the transaction in June. And we actually felt like that the investors also are looking a bit more closely into their money and how they spend it. But at the same time, the interest of investing in our company has increased, and we are doing fine in terms of how the investment round is going. So I think the consciousness has shifted a bit, and it's a bit more how do you say, yeah, just a bit more conscious, but at the same time, I think it's developing and going in the right direction.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we need much more time. This is one learning when we are talking about this very interesting issue about what is the impact of Corona and how it goes on. So from my side, I'm ask you once more again, very shortly, everybody of you have 1 minute. What are your expectations for the future in one sentence? Martin, maybe you can start, Dan and Annina.
Okay, 1 minute, all right. So I think the expectations is to be open-minded, to not be afraid to try out new things. There's good sayings about that sometimes you got to fail in order to win. So I think it's not about conceptualizing and thinking about it too much. I think it's important that we do the change, and we do it now. We go on forward strongly. We collaborate, we work together with different startups. I've talked to Dan, as I mentioned, and we're planning to do the first pilot together. Annina, I think it would be great that we would talk about a collaboration as well. So I think collaboration and going strongly forward and to really change retail for good.
Thank you. Dan?
Yes, so the definition of startup is uncertainty. So we live in uncertainty moments, but it's part of our DNA as entrepreneurs in a startup. So I guess things will go the same way. But I hope we'll be able to bring something new to this world. And I hope that we'll be able to introduce the ability for decision makers not to make decisions based on gut feelings, but to start using data that's actually concrete to make sure that they make the right decisions. And my biggest hope that we'll be definitely part of this evolution and transformation, which in the end of the day will definitely be good and prosperous for everyone.
Thank you. And Annina?
Yeah, I'm also feeling optimistic about the future, and similarly to what Dan said, I hope this situation will push forward some of the new development into utilizing data, utilizing new technologies, and innovating more. And I already see that the industry going towards that direction. So I hope that will continue.
Good to hear that you are, although we have a very stressful situation, that you are very optimistic. And I think this will be, our experts are in the same situation. Tom, what do you think about?
Yeah, crisis times are always chances. I think the startups we were talking to today are really prime examples of that. They all see the chances, and I can see the chances as well. Crisis times are always chances for communications as well. It's a time to show what you are capable of. It's a time to show what's a good business model or a good company or a good building is capable of. So I see the chances as well, and I can see it in our business as well, that a lot of clients are asking us to help them push forward. So I see the chances as well for us as consultants.
Okay, thank you. And Herculano, what do you think about?
So I don't want to repeat everyone's really positive news. I do genuinely am an optimist, and then I don't want to go into the explanation between an optimist versus an optimist realist. But anyway, I do believe that this is an opportunity for us to actually reset and recalibrate the industry. And I'm very pleased to hear that Martin is already speaking to Dan. I actually think this needs to go deeper, and landlords and tech companies and retailers need to come together. And I think this is an opportunity for everybody to say, oh wait, our house is really burning, and if we don't do something about it, we're going to be left with nothing. Let's figure out a way through this together and bring some more openness and some collaboration to an industry which really needs it.
Thank you. And Ricardo?
Well,
Ricardo okay.
I work in innovation every day. So for me, this is a bittersweet moment, but definitely very sweet on one point, because what I have to do normally is exactly this, is get this speed moving. Speed is the name of the game for what we do. So from that point of view, this opens a lot of doors and this creates a lot of opportunities. So yes, I'm an optimist towards this, but we cannot forget, as Herculano is saying, that the house is on fire. So it's a mix of these two things. I am an optimist moving forward, not just by nature, but because I think this is going to open fantastic opportunities for a sector that needs to evolve. We know it does. We know it's going to stay there. We totally agree. I mean, with what has been said here, we're not going anywhere as a sector, but we need to evolve, and this opens fantastic opportunities from an innovation point of view. So from that standpoint, I'm definitely an optimistic right now.
Okay, and Norman, very shortly, then we have to go
I try to make it very shortly. A lot of things have been said already. What I would point at maybe is that it also sharpens our senses, this crisis, and makes us see things in different contexts and maybe even clearer. And that's also something I would see as a positive outcome of this crisis, that you take a step back and look at the things in front of you, look at our industry, how it works, and maybe find some new approaches there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a very interesting session, and the best for you, for everyone, for the future, and keep healthy. Okay. So I think it's
and thanks for this as well.
And for sure, congratulations then.
Congrats.
Okay, now that was our session, Smart Retail, and so we go back to the auditorium. We will put it together, and then I will summarize the content, and will presenting this to all of the auditorium. Thank you very much, and have a nice time. Bye bye.
Auf Wiedersehen. Bye bye.
Thanks.